Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the Unbelievable Nerds podcast. We have the lovely Grimmy with me. Grimmy, how are you?
I'm doing well, Bragster. How are you?
I'm good. I am good. And making his first appearance of many on the Unbelievable Nerds podcast is the lovely AJ NRK. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Which one of us is more lovely, though? Because you said we're both lovely. So
We're both lovely.
You're both equally lovely until the end of the podcast.
Absolute cop out.
And then I'll share my views so you guys don't run away. And I
demand that it's like
I'll hand it this week because as it's AJ's debut, we'll give it to AJ for most of this week.
There we go. AJ, you're my favourite.
There you go.
Oh. It was just which one of us was lovelier. Now he's admitted I'm the favourite. It'll take it.
You may as well get an M&S deal for two. You know, let's just take this all the way, lads.
Well, I mean, if I have to double down, I may as well like triple down. You know, but it's probably in the title, so I probably don't have to explain what we're going to be talking about today. But I will anyway because I love the sound of my own voice. We are going to discuss our top anticipated games of 2023. Now I know what you're saying. We've already 3 months in, Bragster. Come on, like what's going on? Well, yes, we are. But this is a new channel, and there's plenty of the year still to go. So we're going to run through a few of our most anticipated games of the year, a lot of which are probably shared. Let's be honest, between each other. But I'm going to hand the reins over to Grimmy because I think I know what your first one is going to be because we've had, I think, plenty of conversations about this game. It's just for the first time on camera we get to actually speak about this game. So what is your first most anticipated game of the year?
My first one, I'm going to just start from the very top of my most anticipated, and that's Spider-Man 2. Obviously, the sequel to 2018's absolutely brilliant start of the Spider-Man, hopefully trilogy. I'm hoping it's going to be anyway. And then the follow-up to Miles Morales as well, which came out, which I think was out when the PS5 first came out. I think it was one of the first exclusives for that as well. So yeah, really looking forward to that. I mean, if you haven't played those two games that I've just mentioned, Spider-Man and Miles Morales, just go and play them. They're absolutely fantastic. Especially with them being updated on the PS5 as well, with like the 120 frames and like 4K and all that glorious detail and graphic power that it's got now, just makes them even better. The stories in them are fantastic. The voice acting, everything gameplay wise is perfect as well for me. I would go as far to say is the Spider-Man 1 was my favorite game of the PS4 sort of Xbox One generation, is what you would call it for the previous generation. And the fact that we've only seen one teaser trailer from it and it's supposed to be coming out this year. It's rumored to be September, but I think it might get moved because of Starfield coming at the same time. I think they might make it the November, the sort of like what God of War was last year, the November sort of release. But I just think with the teaser trailer that came out and with the quality that Insomniac just seem to have every single game, whether it's Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank, or anything else, it's just going to be one of those games that I think, if it's not like up there for Game of the Year, I would be heavily, heavily surprised. I think there's a couple of things they can tweak from the first game, and I think it will just literally be perfection to me because I'm a huge comic book superhero nerd and I love superhero games, movies, all that stuff. And Spider-Man is probably, alongside Batman, my favorite superhero. So any sort of game or anything like that comes out, I'm always excited for. But with the prior game being as good as it was, much like God of War Ragnarok last year, I was like super hyped for that. And yeah, Spider-Man 2's got to be up there. And it only been heightened recently because of the TikTok you sent me earlier today with that theory of Superior Spider-Man coming into play, which could be amazing if they actually pulled that off. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. So yeah, Spider-Man 2 is my number one. And I'll leave it to you guys to see what your thoughts are on it as well.
I mean, Spider-Man 2, I know we've like spoken about it before, Grimmy, but like that first one, I know you already said it, but it was incredible. It was one of my favorite. It's one of my most memorable and favorite gaming experiences I have had. Which will probably be another episode in itself, going into more detail on those types of moments, because games are full of moments that you just remember and will stay with you sort of forever. And Spider-Man produced that. I'm not going to spoil it because we'll probably touch upon it in a different episode, but the ending sequence is all like the ending of that game, everything from probably the last half an hour of that game, which I know is a lot of time, but if you've played the game, you understand what I mean. The last half an hour is one of the most incredible experiences I have sort of had. Kind of sat there just experiencing it all, and then having to play through it as well, play through the emotion that sort of that game takes you through. And you know, it really reminded me of the old Arkham games, the old Batman Arkham games, and like the amount of emotion, the amount of like the amount you would feel while playing that game.
Yeah,
that Spider-Man game managed to bring that out, and Spider-Man 2 has decided just to hit it out the park. Like, I know they've already like had a bunch of brilliant villains. The Sinister Six being in the first game, I think, is just like saying a lot about the depth in villains they've sort of had across both the Miles Morales game and the DLC game and the Spider-Man game. But you're teasing me when you add in Venom, man. Like, Venom's such a fun character in film, in comic book, and in game form. I remember playing was it Spider-Man like Game of Shadows or something like that? It was called
Web of
like,
Shadows, yeah.
Yeah, that was it. The one on I remember playing it on the DS and really enjoying that game. And Venom was one of the best characters in that game. And I could just imagine Venom just being an absolute beast in this. And alluding to the teaser trailer thing you were saying as well, it says to me, the fact that they're not revealing a lot says to me that there's going to be a lot about the story that's going to shock us. I think there's going to be something that's going to be quite shocking as like a major plot point, quite maybe early on, because the fact they're not revealing a lot, they're building a lot of hype by not saying anything, and I think they're doing it perfectly. We're going to tell you what the main plot is, but bar the main thing of Venom's the villain and you're going to see the two Spider-Men team up, we're not going to give you much else. Kind of says to me that something big's going to happen. And if you played the first game, you know that Insomniac aren't scared to do anything like that. They aren't scared to make a big decision, at all. So it wouldn't surprise me if something big's happening that they're trying to keep very close to their chest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the other thing is as well is like Insomniac have been developing games for forever, and I can't really remember them making a bad game. Especially the ones that I've played, especially like Ratchet and Clank and all that stuff. And I think, did they make Sunset Overdrive for the Xbox as well? I think that was them. I'm pretty sure they made that, and that was probably one of the better Xbox One exclusives that they had in that sort of generation. And I just think like when you look at the marketing for the first one, there was an E3 trailer where basically they revealed there was going to be the Sinister Six in it, but then they didn't reveal who the last person was, and it was all sort of built up to be pointing one way, and then the game just totally flipped it, and it was just like everything back like top to bottom of the first game was just brilliant for me, and the way they extended that with the Miles story as well. I don't think that game gets enough credit in terms of it doesn't blow up the formula, but I think it does enough to like sort of extend it a little bit and make it Miles's game rather than it just being it's Spider-Man 1.5. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and honestly cannot wait. Like as soon as that game's release date's revealed, holidays are getting booked in at work. Like it's just it's days off. It's not. And I won't be seen by the general public for about 4 or 5 days in a row because I will be playing that game. I might have completed it twice in a weekend and I wouldn't care. I'll do it. Like that's the dedication. I've waited 5 years for it, so that's what'll happen.
AJ, your thoughts?
I love Spider-Man. I love him so much. I collect the comic books, I collect action figures of him. I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man on the PlayStation is the only reason I bought a PlayStation 5. Before that, I was heavily Xbox, and I had an Xbox Series X, and then I was like, Miles Morales came out, and it came with a bundled copy of like an upgraded Spider-Man 1, and I was just like, now's the time to jump. And I do not regret it one bit, because it was actually the first game I streamed coming back to Twitch was Spider-Man. And before I played that game, my favorite ever game was The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't know if you guys ever played that. It is a fantastic game, simply for the fact that I don't know if you guys do this when you were playing Spider-Man, but you'll just spend hours just swinging around, just chilling. I'd be listening to music. I'd just be swinging around the city, seeing what I could find. And there's something, excuse me, something incredibly satisfying about just being able to go at your own pace, swing around the city, stop some crimes here and there. And the upgrade from the swinging in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 to Spider-Man was just so good that I was just like, I probably spent the first hour just swinging around, just not doing anything. And it is, I played Miles Morales. I didn't really enjoy it, but for me, playing as, Spider-Man is just such a feat, because every kid wants to be Spider-Man, right?
Yes.
Every kid wants to be Spider-Man. And I love both the stories from Spider-Man to Miles Morales. I thought they both did things really, really well. And you end up getting so drawn into the story. And there's not a lot of video games that do that to me. But for me, both the Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales did that. So with Spider-Man 2 coming out and thinking, everyone loves Venom. Everyone wants to see the symbiote go over onto Spider-Man. We all want the black suit. That's what we all want.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's finally gonna happen, it makes my heart happy. And thinking of the hours I'm gonna spend just roaming around New York again. And like Grimmy said, they don't break the formula with these games, but they're done so well, and the storytelling is just so good, and you end up getting so emotionally involved in the characters, and the voice acting's good. The story's just amazing. It just makes me so happy. And anything to do with Spider-Man, I'm a massive fan.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, I think it's one of those games that I think sort of surprised everyone with how good the story actually was, because a lot of superhero sort of games have gone away from that and kind of more focused on, you get to be the superhero sort of thing. But I think Batman definitely changed the formula, and Spider-Man just ran with that formula of, let's tell a great story here and get everyone talking about it. And it did exactly that without fail. We'll go to you, AJ. What's one of your most anticipated games of the year?
Right, the game, this has been my most anticipated game for like forever, but Ark Survival Evolved 2. Have you guys played Ark Survival Evolved?
I have.
I haven't.
Briefly.
I've watched it a lot, because there's a Neebs Gaming is one of a channel on YouTube I watch quite a lot, because they did Battlefield, they did like a little animated series called Battlefield Friends, but then they started going into other games. And Ark Survival, they've got like an Ark Survival series, and it's just hilarious. So that's my only sort of exposure with it, really.
The way I describe Ark is it's Minecraft with amazing graphics and dinosaurs.
Yeah.
That is the game. And I remember Ark coming out, like the original Ark coming out as a pre-release, a beta, and spending 10 real hours sat next to a T-Rex waiting for it to tame. Because back in the day, there was none of this, an hour for a dinosaur, 2 hours for a dinosaur. 10 hours sat for a T-Rex, which was the best dinosaur you get at the time, only for it to about to wake up and someone come across and kill it. And there's such a thrill with a game like, because I think I'm quite a nice person in real life. When it comes to a game like Ark, I'm the most toxic POS human that is. I have made full-grown men and their children cry playing Ark Survival Evolved. I've put thousands of hours into that game. When I used to work from home, I used to work for Vodafone, and I used to work from home on the phones. And while I was on the phones with people, I'd just be there playing Ark Survival Evolved, like farming bullets, taming dinosaurs, breeding things. It is basically, Grimmy, I play on official service. You play online with your friends. You make your tribe, and basically your character is always in that world. So when you turn the game off, your character's there. So you need to make sure that your defenses are strong, right?
Yeah.
So you need guns, you need dinosaurs, you need everything ready to defend you. Because when you log on, your stuff's probably gone. You're probably dead. You've probably lost everything, and you have to start again. And
so it's
basically
it's a constantly ongoing. There's no stop, basically.
Exactly. You just keep going. You log in. You grind. You think you're making progress, and then a bigger tribe comes along and destroys everything you own. And that's the power I like on Ark, because what I'll do is I'll have a tribe, and I'll use my dinosaur. There's a thing called a manor, which is basically like a big dog that you ride, and it jumps really high. Get one of those, you can cause havoc. You can cause absolute havoc on a server. And all I would do would jump around. I'd find someone who was just going about their day, enjoying their life, and I would make sure they regretted logging on that day. I would make sure they knew that they should not have turned on their Xbox, their PlayStation, their PC, whatever it is, and I would destroy everything they owned. And this is hours of work, right? They'll be there building a house for hours. I'd come along and just C4 everything, destroy everything, kill every single dinosaur they had, just because it's amusing to me. And I cannot wait for the level of toxicity to go up a scale in Ark Survival Evolved 2 and get all my friends.
Are you streaming this when this comes out?
Oh, 100%.
Oh,
100%. Right.
Okay.
Listen, I used to steal people's entire bases, right? And no, I don't condone this because it's very frowned upon in the Ark Survival Evolved community. But I'd basically be like, oh, hey, do you want to be my friend? Oh, you should join my tribe. My tribe's really good. And I'd be a solo person on a random server. My tribe's really good. You should join me. Merge tribes. Kick them from the tribe. Kill them. Everything you own now belongs to me. Everything belongs to me, baby. You own all their dinosaurs. You own everything that they've done. And like I said, I've made full-grown men and their children cry playing Ark Survival Evolved. It brings out the worst in me, and I feel like everyone needs an outlet to just let out their toxic side. And for me,
survival of the fittest, eh?
That's it. Survival of the fittest. Do not come for me, because I will use my dinosaurs and I will destroy you.
My dinosaurs will find you and they will get you.
Do you know what makes that even funnier, right? Is the fact that my experience playing Ark, right, when because I used to do a YouTube series on it, until I found out that the number 2 was coming out, and then I was like, well, rather than playing it now, I may as well just wait until the second one comes out. I made a character, and his name was Borg. Good old Borg, love Borg. Borg's a great character, and me. I think it was Borg. The Adventures of Borg. Yeah, so Borg was with me, and I was having a great time. I barely left this little island. I got upset when I had to kill a dodo. I love dodos, and I had to. I came to the realization the only way I could progress in this game was by killing said dodo, and it really broke my heart. And yet, on the other side, we got a man making grown men cry while I'm almost in tears killing a AI dodo.
Well, for me, Ark is one of my favorite games of all time, like online. And I remember playing it for like the first time and being in some bushes and coming out of the bushes onto like a beach and seeing a T-Rex for the first time and having that sort of fear come over me. And I was just so scared to move. I had to sort of like try and tiptoe around it. I had no experience playing the game. Now there's YouTube videos of everything you can do in the game. And basically you have to knock out dinosaurs, feed them their preferred food, and they'll become your pets and you can ride them. But at the time I was there with like a spear. I was naked in the woods and I was just like, this is terrifying. And the fact that Ark Survival Evolved 2 sort of takes that beyond. It's got is it Bruce Willis as
Vin Diesel?
Vin Diesel, they're the same person, just right. Vin Diesel
Similar.
as the person. I don't know what that adds to it, but I'm excited. It's gonna be
Obviously the story's all about family.
Of course it is. Of course. Do you know Vin Diesel is a huge Ark Survival Evolved player himself, which is why he's involved in the second one. But I don't think I've ever wanted a game so badly, but also I know I'll regret it when it comes out because I've lost jobs, I've lost girlfriends, I've lost friends, I've lost relationships, I've lost everything because of Ark Survival Evolved, because it's one of those games that you have to put your time into it and you have to grind. And if you don't go
so
on
you're
for
not
a
coming
day,
back on the podcast when that comes out, is basically
pretty much. But I remember having a conversation with my girlfriend at the time and she was like, all you do is play that dinosaur game. You know, she'd be at my house. I'd live in with my parents at the time. And she's like, you're always on that dinosaur game. You never spend time with me. And it's like, she sat on my bed. Like, you watch telly. I'm playing my game. It's either me or the dinosaur game. And I tell you, I never grinded so hard in my life after that because this dinosaur game consumed every part of me. And it's going to do it again with Ark Survival Evolved 2. It's going to be amazing.
Love it.
Yeah, it will be incredible. That fear that you get, like, there's I remember the water crocodile thing that is absolutely giant.
Sarko.
Oh, it murdered me so many times. So many times to the point where luckily the second one got announced, because otherwise I think I would have lost my mind at having to deal with that big bugger, who, I'm not gonna lie, I was petrified of and I ran away from the first time. I bravely ran away the first time. Onto one of my most anticipated games, which I've realized is gonna sound really rogue after those two, because those two are very much what I think a lot of people would have had on their lists. Mine is a game I'm really excited for because I think it's going to be bad and I'm going to love it, which is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, right? Because I remember saying this just before we went on camera, and I got the weirdest look of like, what? Basically, it very much, from everything that we've been given so far, it very much looks reminiscent of Friday the 13th, the game that came out years and years ago at this point. I'm pretty sure I was still in high school when it first came out, so that says how long ago it was. But like, that came out and like I loved it because it was one of those games where like it had a lot of glitches, but the glitches made it fun in the sense of like, if the game broke, it made it hilarious just because it was like, haha, funny, the game's broken again. But like, you could break it in so many different ways, and what made it really good was you couldn't break it the same way twice either. Like, it was like they'd patch it, but by patching it, they made another bug. And I swear to God, hand on heart, I genuinely believe they made bugs on purpose, because it's what made the game incredibly good. And it's the fact of, you're in this lobby of like 8 to 10 people. One of you randomly becomes Jason, and you roam around and you're like, kill, and then there's a then everyone else is trying to escape, and then there's like this rare little thing that you can do where you do kill Jason, and it's so rare that so many people attempt to do it, but if anyone attempts to do it, they die almost immediately. It's impossible to do. Like, you have to get all 8 of the people in the lobby pretty much in like in on it. And one of the best parts is for you to be able to defeat Jason, you had to die. One of you had to die. You couldn't even like stay alive and play against some rubbish Jason. One of you had to physically die to be able to unlock it.
It would just be me. It was like, who's the worst at this game?
But that's what made it so good, was the fact that there were so many different ways of playing it, and then they brought out more maps, they brought out more Jasons. This is Texas Chainsaw Massacre we're on about here. This is one similar to Friday the 13th, one of the most famous horror franchises ever, right? With multiple films to its name, multiple different like character skins you can have, and it's so reminiscent of Friday the 13th, and I really hope it's the same sort of vibe. And from everything that has come out, it looks like it is. And if so, I will be playing the crap out of it, because it's one of those where you can just play it over and over again. It's similar to like Dead by Daylight and stuff like that. Like
that's the main example. I was trying to think of like what else is there on the market, and I think Dead by Daylight's the main example, isn't it? Because it has all, like, I always, whenever I go like on the PS5, like if there's ever a sale on, I'll always go on and look at the sale, and Dead by Daylight's always on there, and the DLCs are always like £1 or £2 or something ridiculous, and it's got all of the, like, you've got Ghostface, you've got Jason, you've got Freddy Krueger, all those guys, like, you know, I mean, I think that's the parameter, isn't it? If you hit that level of quality, you're probably sticking around for the long term. But yeah, it'll be interesting. If you're playing that, I'd love to know how it plays, because Dead by Daylight's always interested me, but I've never had that sort of group to play it with, because no one really, I mean, most of my mates would probably, you'd guess, all sports games guys, so horror games or stuff like that isn't really.
I'm the same. I've had Dead by Daylight on my computer for nearly 2 years, and I am yet to, like, I played it back on the Xbox when I had that with a few of my mates back when it first came out, but I haven't played it in ages, because obviously, as you said, like, it's a lot more fun if you're playing with, even if it's just one extra friend, it's always like a little bit more fun to play. I remember Friday the 13th, when we got a lobby of that, it was a lot of fun, like, because you'd have people come in because it was really cheap when it came out as well. It was, I swear, it was only like a tenner or something ridiculous. It might have been cheaper than that, actually. Friday the 13th, when that came out. And like, it's cheap and easy, which means that anyone can just buy it, play it. And when you've got that accessibility, it just makes it so much easier to get a group of your mates around that might not even like horror games and just love games, just to basically piss around for a few hours and just take Absolutely. The mic and try and have a bit of fun.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something. I mean, I know we've talked about like doing different games on our streams and stuff, but I think that's something definitely we could look at to get, because I think it just sounds like a lot of fun. The way you've described it there makes me want to give it a go, because I mean, I've looked at it and I get why people want to play this, but it's not necessarily my cup of tea. But I'd definitely give it a go. Like, it sounds like it could be fun, and if Texas Chainsaw Massacre can hit that, then it sounds like they're on to a winner, really.
Yeah, very much so. AJ?
Yeah, it sounds very, like Grimmy said, very Dead by Daylight, and I know Dead by Daylight has such a hugely loyal fan base, especially on something like Twitch. I would be very interested to see you playing the game and seeing how it goes. I'll be honest, I'm not a massive horror fan. I get so scared of anything. Like, I'd probably sit through a horror movie if you know, someone was holding my hand. Grimmy, I'm looking at you.
I'd be holding you as well as you holding me, I think, because I'm not really a horror movie guy.
But I love watching people play those kind of games, because it's more about, you kind of want to see the reaction of the person playing it. Yeah. And I know that, you know, I've not known you very long, Bragster. You're very expressive with your emotions. So I think seeing you play that kind of game, especially if it's a franchise that you're keen on, would be very, very interesting to see. I mean, I've played Dead by Daylight before, so I know the style of game. And it, like Grimmy said as well, it's one of those games that's so much more fun if you've got, you know, a group of friends to play it with. You're all playing it. Something like Dead by Daylight or what's the Ghost one called?
Jesus.
It's a ghost. You got to go through a house.
Phasmophobia or something like that?
Phasmophobia. Yes,
it.
Grimmy.
Yeah.
So it's like something like that. It's a game that if you're playing it by yourself, you might still enjoy it, but it's one of those games that you get a group together, you get a group of friends in, and even if you're not all sort of horror fans, it's one of those that is so much more fun, especially if people are reacting. Because I know how I reacted playing Dead by Daylight for the first time, that my friends were probably getting more enjoyment from me screaming and being terrified of someone chasing me than maybe the game. But if you're passionate about that kind of thing, it's so good. And I would be excited to play something like that, and more so watch you doing number twos in your pants when you're being attacked. That's probably how I'd feel about it.
It's really odd because you make a good point. Like I love horror films, right? I say I always have. There's like I never used to like horror films, and then like I basically learned. I started finding a way of watching them. That's a whole story in itself, which is why you've got the severed hand behind me. That's on a poster in the Saw poster.
I'm glad you clarified on the poster.
I was on the poster there,
just
right there.
Brings up a glass box.
It is. But like, you know, it like franchises like that. I love that feeling of like almost like dread, which is going to sound really odd, but I love that feeling of dread. Like I played like the Quarry and like the Dark Pictures games and stuff like that before. I love those types of games as well, and you get like that little bit of like dread in you, and it's almost like as much as I hate it, I also love it at the same time. Where I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, like this is like a different experience, and especially like for a co-op game like that as well, it's like I think with a game like that you get that perfect blend of enjoyment but also those little moments of fear where you're like sitting there going, oh no, stay away. That's exactly how you feel non-stop. It's one of those games that it's probably a row shout for one of my most anticipated games of the year, but it's just the moments of playing that a game like that, if they manage to pull it off anything to the level, well, they managed to pull it off to the level of Friday the 13th, they'll be on to win it. If they manage to pull it off even more than that, I mean, it'll be one of my favorite games to play permanently from then on, pretty much. You know, Friday the 13th still gets played today, which, you know, it came out years and years ago. So, you know, that should say a lot about the potential of longevity with this one.
I think games like that as well, horror games, it's very difficult to sort of separate yourself sometimes, especially if you're playing in the dark and you're just chilling.
I couldn't play that in the dark. Absolutely no chance.
You feel like you're in the game. And I think for me, and this is going to sound really silly, but the most scared I've ever been playing a video game. I've never seen a Harry Potter, but I played the Harry Potter, the PlayStation 1 game. And there's a bit where you like jump over the bookshelves and there's like knights walking along the floor. I remember feeling the dread come over me that you're talking about when I fell off this bookshelf, and the knight coming towards me, I just reached and turned off my PlayStation and never played Harry Potter game again. And I feel like I put myself in that game, and it was Harry Potter isn't a horror game, but that's the most scared I've ever been playing a game. And I think if you're that involved in a franchise, putting yourself in those shoes and feeling the terror come over you, it just adds to that kind of momentum of it build up. And I want to watch you play it. I think it'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I cannot wait. We've still got some time, so we can go through some more anticipated games. Grimmy, I know you had a full blown list beforehand, so I'm sure.
Oh, I've got about 7 or 8 different games I'm looking forward to. Yeah, like 2023 is my year in terms of games. Like it's crazy how much it is crazy how much stuff is coming out this year. Like I think it's the effect, obviously, of the pandemic and obviously a lot of things getting kicked down the road, and obviously people having to work from home, and a lot of these games are getting made from home now rather than being in an office. I know things are going back to the way they were, but I think that's the effect obviously we've had with 2023. But yeah, in terms of like another game I'm really looking forward to, just from a purely nerdy technical graphical standpoint, is Forza Motorsport. Now, again, not necessarily the biggest car game player. I mean, I do dabble every now and then. Like I've got Gran Turismo for the PS5, and I've played the F1 games religiously every year. Not to like hundreds and hundreds of hours, but I do play them quite regularly. But seeing how it looks on the new Xbox and seeing the sort of like the full sort of graphical power being put into that game, and then seeing their sort of, I think it was like a 5-10 minute like game preview in January, where they were showing like the differences in like how they're doing sort of day and night cycles, the weather cycles, and then like different things like different tires wearing out can vary the car performance and all this stuff, like really like in detail nerdy stuff that no one really cares about playing a game, but that for some reason just gets me excited about playing Forza Motorsport. It's just like they haven't really had a bad Forza Motorsport game, and I think that's going to continue. And especially with the Horizon games, like the fact that they've done 5 different locations and every single time it's been better than the previous one, like it's just crazy. And I think that it's been a while since we've had like the proper like nerdy sim racing Forza. So I think it's about time we had one, and hopefully it hits 2023. I know there's a bit of sort of, there isn't actually concrete date on it yet, because it was supposed to be coming out around springtime, but they've pushed it back to the back end. So it'll be interesting to see when that comes out, because with Starfield being September, I think that's probably where Forza would have been normally in the release calendar, but I think that might get pushed to like October, or might come out a little bit earlier. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, in terms of like graphical power, and in terms of like, and that's the other thing about Spider-Man, like linking that back in with that, is these are sort of the first games where everything's getting put on these consoles. You're not having PS4 and PS5. It's all PS5 and it's all Xbox Series X. So yeah, like that sort of level of detail on things is, and I've just bought a new TV as well, and it's got the bells and whistles, and it's like HDMI 2.1, so it's perfect for PS5 and Xbox Series X. So I'm like, let's go, baby, full graphics. When I burned my OLED TV out in the first 6 months, we all know why. But yeah, I mean, Forza's on there for me.
I mean, I'm not surprised. Like Forza, like I'm not a massive car games person per se, but I can always appreciate like the graphics and stuff of the Forza games. Like the Forza games, like it's really odd for me, because as someone who doesn't play car games, I watch the trailer every year at like E3 or whatever it comes out of the Forza games, and you're looking at it. I'm sitting there and I go, I want to play you, but I don't like car games. It like gives that, like, because it's just such a high quality and a consistently high quality as well, that like you almost feel like it won't let you down. And when you've got that feeling and it does just keep ramping up in terms of the way it looks as well, you just know you're onto a winner immediately with that type with Forza.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've purchased a wheel and pedals last year because I wanted to try it with the F1 game, and I did play quite a bit of it. And I've been waiting sort of for the next game, and I couldn't really get it to work with Gran Turismo. But when Forza comes out, it's going to get dusted off, and it's going to be all right, time to go again. So I'll not be able to stream it though, because the noise the wheel makes is just crazy, because it's not like a belt. It's like proper, it's like got like metal gears, and you could just hear the constant grinding of them. And it's like, if I've tried like different settings with my mic, and it just doesn't want to work. So, so I wouldn't be able to stream it. But yeah, just like proper diving headfirst into that for a couple of months will be a lot of fun. Because normally with car games, I like, especially with like Gran Turismo, I was in it for like, I played it consistently for a couple of weeks. And I was kind of like, I've seen everything I need to see. But with Forza, there's just something about Forza on Xbox where I just enjoy it so much more. I don't know what it is, because it really isn't that much different of a game. But yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, AJ?
I've got opinions on car games. It's like to quote The Simpsons, kind of. We can game anytime, but this is our chance to see cars driving. Like, go outside. Like, go outside. There's cars. The graphics outside are like 10 times as good. Grimmy, do you have a driver's license?
I do, yes.
Go outside. You have you're talking about this steering wheel that does everything. You have a car that does the same thing. Go outside and drive it.
I can't drive an Aston Martin, can I?
But you can if you work a bit harder. just
how much intelligence do you think I have? I don't have any intelligence. I can't earn that amount of money. That's just impossible. Like, I'd love to be able to. Don't get me wrong.
You can do it, Grimmy. But even with car games, it's the kind of thing you always see as like a demo when a new console comes out. It's like, look at the graphics of this new car game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. I don't care about the cars. Show me anime girls. Show me a sports game. Show me a story-driven superhero game. But
sports game, you can go out and you can go out on the field and kick a football.
I would love to, but the difference being, I can drive a car. I can't play football. I can do car driving. I've got a license for that, so a bit of card tells me I can do those things. But in all honesty, every car game looks the same. Oh, look, it's a Ferrari. Oh, that was in another car game. Yeah, because the cars are the same in every game. What do you mean you're excited about it? Play the last one. All the cars are the same. Oh, the slight increase in graphics. Oh, it's brilliant, this. Oh, look at it. It's like I'm there. Go outside, get in your car. You are there. Anyway.
To be fair, the Forza... I get with like Gran Turismo and stuff like that, yeah. But with Forza, there has been about a 5 or 6 year gap. So it's not like it's like they've just released one like last year. Like there has been a bit of a gap, and it is the new like the mega graphical power of the Series X. I understand where you're coming from though, because a lot of people around me like car games are just the same. But I just like the shiny. Okay, I like the shiny.
You know, I used to play. Do you remember the old Need for Speed games? I think those were the ones that I sort of kind of got into. But I would spend most of my time just putting flames on the side of my car because the flames.
Which you can also do in Forza.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like you're talking about this graphical improvement,
but it is though.
But you're not just going to sit there and put flames on the side of the car. Like it's not like Spiderman.
Put flames on the side of the car.
It's not like Spiderman where you can just go and explore and drive around and do whatever. You're racing and stuff. Like, what's the point? Go outside, make eye contact with someone at some traffic lights, rev your engine a couple of times.
Oh, trust me, that happens as well. Yeah, that does. As the roundabout in Blythe. Oh, right, I see you, mate. You're trying to cut me this lane. Let's go, right?
The best part about driving is winning races that the other person doesn't know they're involved in. That's the best part about driving.
Or trying to beat the sat-nav time. If the sat-nav time tells you you're being there by 11, you've got to make sure you're there for 10:59, my friend.
Beat the sat-nav is one of the best games.
Yeah. It is the best game.
When you're putting petrol in the car and you get it exactly on the pound.
I never get to do that because it always goes over. I'm a bit heavy-handed with my
no skill, AJ.
I know. That's it. But you don't get to do any of that in your game. You don't drive round and then suddenly you have to pull off into a Tesco's and fill up. Have you got your club card?
Burnout actually had a fuel system in it. In one of the games, it was like Burnout 3, where you had to they had a load of gas stations, and if you run low, you had to you only had to drive through it. You didn't stop and get your club card out or anything like that. You just drove through it. But yeah, it only happened once, and they never did it again because obviously it ruined any sort of momentum and free exploration when you're like, oh, I can't go all the way over there because I need to go through this gas station 20 miles the other way. So yeah.
Well, you talk about these improvements. Like, why don't they have a system where you can just drive around, pop over to Tesco's and fill up?
Get a
not
cheeky
Tesco's
deal
specifically, but go and fill up your car.
And then when you're looking in your car, you see your breadcrumbs and all this stuff from your sandwich and all this stuff. Yeah,
that's why just Just go outside, get in your car. You could. The beauty is you could drive to like Mackey's or something. The end goal is you get a burger, you're happy, you're coming home, huge smile on your face. What do you get from Forza? Nothing but disappointment.
I obviously get more than disappointment for it because I play them when they come out. So like, it's different opinions, but I guess the moral of the story is that we won't be playing car games on streams anytime soon. Because AJ might lose his absolute mind.
No, listen. If a game is free, the problem I have with those games is they bring them out and they're like upwards of like £50 to £70. It's extortionate when you can just that almost fills your car up in real life. It's one of those for a week. Well, you know the price of petrol at the moment, mate. I drive to York and back, and my car's like crying.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's driving games are fine. It's just the fact that they're all the same.
It's just not your cup of tea. It's just not your cup of tea, AJ.
It's like people who like fireworks. Oh, look at these red,
fireworks,
green, and yellow lights in the sky. Go and look at a freaking traffic light. The same light, and you can just enjoy.
Is not the same.
You can enjoy that from your car while pretending you're playing Forza. That's
so
if
I ever drive up to a set of traffic lights now and they were flashing crazy, and I'm thinking, why are they doing weird patterns? It's AJ at the control panel just going, fireworks show, kids.
Oh, AJ, after that display. You do understand that whatever you say now has to be an absolute banging game. I
am repping myself, boy.
Okay, Hentai Booby Simulator 4.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No, I don't know if that's a game. I've never played Hentai Booby Simulator 3, but the game.
But 1 and 2, big fan.
Do you know, not speaking of hentai boobies, but Senran Kagura games, so good. Check them out. But the game that I'm picking is I'm a huge fan. Grimmy's lost his mind. Look, wait, he's like, where is he? Is he here?
He's pointing the right way now.
He's here. He's losing his mind. Look at him. He's like,
I'm
what?
Losing my mind. I'm fine.
Come on to here. He was so nice about Bragster's game, and then he's done this.
No problem.
I'm a huge fan of 80s movies, right? So if I was to ask you guys like the big 80s movies, what would you say?
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, the best movie ever made.
Yep.
Fact.
2 and 3.
The best one is 1, then it goes 3, then it goes 2.
2 is the best. 2
is the worst one. I've got a massive Back to the Future tattoo on my shoulder.
Right, we're not gonna. No,
anyway,
we can't argue twice on the same podcast. Can't go into that.
So, my favorite 80s movies, right? Back to the Future, Terminator, Ghostbusters, Robocop. There is a new Robocop movie a new Robocop game coming out called Robocop Rogue City. It's a first-person shooter that sort of goes through sort of similar time frame, and you basically have to fight crime. It looks spectacular. All of we've had is a teaser trailer for it, but I am hooked. One kind of game that I do love is crime fighting simulators, and Grimmy's going to say, just go out and become a police officer. The graphics are great. But is that the look of love, Grimmy?
Yeah.
Robocop is one of those iconic characters that definitely needed to be brought back to life, and I feel like video games as a genre, as a medium now, a lot of things are coming through video games, and you could tell such an integral story, and it's probably the perfect time to bring it back as well, because obviously all the nostalgia's there. I know from a kid, I mean, I wasn't around in the 80s, but I love these movies simply for the fact that my dad would make me watch them with him, and he'd be like, oh, this is amazing. And Robocop is one of those things I still remember being sat in like my childhood home on the sofa with my dad and just watching this movie being like, should I be watching this? Am I old enough to watch this? And Robocop is amazing. Anyone who disagrees is wrong.
Honestly, to be fair, I'm watching the trailer for it. It does look pretty good. I knew it was coming, but I wasn't sure when complete overview.
This is the thing is, I can't believe I'm saying this, and I hope AJ doesn't go on a rant. I've never seen RoboCop. So I've never seen it, but this game looks incredible. And if it's selling it to like somebody who doesn't have that nostalgia, like I'm looking at it going, it like if it wasn't labeled like RoboCop and it was just a game that was being advertised to come out, I would look at that trailer and be like, this looks incredible. Like looking at the gameplay that's involved and stuff like that, it does genuinely look incredible. Like then you've got the nostalgia alongside that for all the fans of the films. Like it's like a recipe for success, which I mean, we might eat our words when it comes out, but it does currently look like a recipe for success. It looks incredible.
It's one of those things, like you say, you've never seen RoboCop. And the reason I think it's such a good time to bring it back is because people will see this game and think, oh, that game looks good. And then they'll realize that there's a movie, not just a movie, a trilogy. I think there's a trilogy of RoboCops, right? And so. they'll go back and watch those movies. And I think for me, what sold it, because I had no idea this game was coming. And then I remember I think I was talking to either the Steak Bake or Cy Maggio or someone like that. And seeing this trailer, and it like opens with like his like robotic body. And I was just like, look how shiny it is. Look how but you can go out and shine things yourself, AJ. It just looks
Get your
so
shoe
good.
Shined.
It looks so good, and for me, it makes me think of being a kid at home with my dad, and for other people, it'll bring back other memories, and then for a whole new generation who can just start making their RoboCop memories, maybe there's a reboot on the cards for the movie. Who knows?
It does look pretty good. Like, I mean, I've just seen a couple of trailers there, and I've seen a few in-game photos, and it does look pretty good. Like, I might have to give that a go. You've convinced me, AJ.
Well, sponsor me, RoboCop people.
Oh, you can also drive a car in the game, apparently. Is that going to put you off, AJ?
No. I mean, that's fine because you are a RoboCop. For me, I can't be a RoboCop driving a car. I can be a person.
I don't think you're ambitious enough, AJ. Quote Polygon's headline for the new RoboCop game. New RoboCop game isn't just about violence. You can also hand out parking tickets.
There we go.
That's what we will all be doing.
That's what everyone wants. Do you know what I've always
you
found
get a parking
weird?
ticket. You get a parking ticket.
When people do a job in real life and then they play something like GTA RP and then they RP the exact same job.
Oh, that is weird.
That is weird, right? And you're just like, oh, you're a car salesman in real life? I'm going to sell cars in GTA. Do it in real life more. Get money.
Yeah, get real money from it rather than interacting with people.
Grimmy looks like he's lost the will to live.
I will admit there's a little bit will gone, but we'll power through for Bragster's final game, I think.
I mean, yeah, before we get to some like honorable mentions, we'll get to my my second game, which beforehand I had a list of 4 games, which we'll mention all the ones that are remaining on any of our lists as like honorable mentions sort of thing at the end. But when I planned out my 4 or 5 games, I didn't really expect this one to be on the list, to be completely honest with you. I also didn't expect to have 2 horror games as my 2 on the list.
I did. Bragster, as soon as you mentioned the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I was like, well, we're probably getting Horror Central here from Bragster's corner of the conversation. So,
but this excites me for different reasons. It was a tough choice between 2, which I will mention in my honorable mentions. But like Silent Hill Ascension, it's a Silent Hill game. We have been robbed of a Silent Hill game for years, right? PT came out. PT, one of the best demos I've ever played for anything was PT. And people didn't really know what PT was until I played it. And it was like, oh, there's just this horror, like short horror game. Everyone presumed it was just some short horror game. And then the reveal at the end that this is actually leading to a Silent Hill game that never happened because of all the arguments that happened between the people making the games. We're finally getting one again after so long. We're finally getting one, and with the graphics that we've got nowadays in the games and stuff like that, I really feel like they could hit this out the park. Like the tension from the original Silent Hill games. You know, I remember playing them a little bit when I was younger because my dad played them as a kid, so I wanted to play the old Silent Hill games. I couldn't get very far in the game because it scared the living crap out of me. If this game gets anywhere to that level of scaring me and confusing everyone because it's Silent Hill and it's the most confusing universe on God's earth, and then having the graphics to really nail home like the horror, I think this has potential to be really good. But on the flip side, it also has the potential to be really bad, because like it's one of those where there's a lot of games like this that have been highly anticipated, and like in horror sort of things anyway. And I've seen some like Silent Hill stuff before where, you know, everyone anticipated, oh, it's a new Silent Hill one, and it's rubbish. I'm hoping that's not the case here. I'm hoping they finally hit this out the park because, you know, similar to what Resident Evil are doing now with all their games of like building this new universe while also just remastering all of the old ones. Silent Hill could go and do that, but it just needs to build a universe because it didn't have the success of it didn't have the continued success of Resident Evil had, and but due to don't get me wrong, a lot of disputes that happen behind the scenes. But if they can hit this out the park, this could be the start of a lot of Silent Hill games happening in the future. And like they could really start fleshing out this universe, similar to what Resident Evil 7 and 8 have just done. You know, like to the Resident Evil series of really expanding it, really giving it this whole new narrative story. Silent Hill could do the exact same thing. This new Silent Hill game and building on that could do the exact same thing. I'm hoping. I'm worried about it, but like there's not much to go off yet, which is why it's a bit concerning. There's not much to go off, and there's probably even a chance it doesn't come out this year due to the fact that we haven't seen a lot from the game, bar like a little teaser trailer, which, to be honest with you, they may as well have not released because it just basically reveals nothing other than the fact there's a new Silent Hill game coming. But yeah, I'm just really hoping they finally hit out the park with this, because the horror genre in games right now is thriving to another level that I haven't really seen in a very long time. Like, you know, the horror genre is just getting game after game. Like, you know, we spoke earlier about, you know, the Phasmophobia when that came out, sort of thing, absolutely being a hit. You know, you got the Resident Evil games being a hit, and I just think, you know, you can just keep building off of that. You know, if this game has any levels of the horror that PT gave me, and PT scared the living crap out of me to the point where my dad had to finish the demo because I couldn't do it. I've gotten better. I've gotten better now, but back then I wasn't even I didn't even like horror movies back then. So it was, you know, for me to play a game was a bit ridiculous. But if they can get that levels of horror, oh boy, this could be an absolute banger.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like Silent Hill's one of those things that I think. I mean, I've never played them personally, but I know that historically it's one of those gaming franchises where people have been crying out for them to come back, and the hype around PT when that came out, and then the trailer with Norman Reedus at the end, and all the sort of Del Toro being involved in it as well as a producer. It was just like it was a surefire win. Whether it was a 10 out of 10 game or a 7 out of 10 game, it was going to be a surefire win for whoever published it, and they'd be making money for days. So yeah, like it's a strange one because it seems like it's very much a sleeping giant franchise where no one's touched it in so long that if they get it right, it could almost be reborn as something new, and they could start it again, and everyone would be pretty happy with that, I think. Because and you touched on it before with the remakes of the Resident Evils, that like each one has substantially got more and more people buying them because of how well they've been redone. And obviously Resident Evil 4 has just come out, and that's got really great reviews left, right, and center. Not that I'll be playing it because I'm too much of a scaredy pants, and I would have to have like blinds open, full sunbeam coming in, lights on everywhere, and just making sure that I'm not getting taken out by a nearby zombie. But yeah, like it's one of those things where I think very much it used to be a thing of back in the day. I always remember it being you were Resident Evil or you were Silent Hill. And then as time's gone on, it was really just Resident Evil because that was the only one that kept going, really. So I do think it is one of those sort of dormant franchises that if they got it right, it could just be going again for another 10, 20 years if they get it right. But yeah, I hope for your sake it happens and it's good, Bragster, because by the sounds of it, you have been waiting for it for a very long time.
Too bloody long, literally too long. AJ, I know you're not the biggest horror fan, but what's your thoughts?
I don't really know what. Right, explain the game to me because I've never played Silent Hill.
So Silent Hill is one of the most confusing entities to exist. Basically, there is this. I'm going to explain it really, really badly, and I apologize to anyone that is like a massive Silent Hill nerd. I'm just a horror movie nerd and a horror game sort of nerd who has dabbled into Silent Hill. But basically, is this little like island area type thing, similar to like Raccoon City, but called Silent Hill. And when you go in, there's this big fog, right? This like mass amount of fog, and this fog just almost like surrounds this like village sort of thing, and it kind of makes you go crazy. You start seeing things that maybe don't exist, and it's all sort of in this like fog, and you start seeing things that don't exist. Like I think one of the most famous examples is probably you go into these like bathroom cubicles and you're hearing this noise, and you go in and each door sort of opens, and next thing you know, you open one and there's just this murdered person there. And then they pretty much like, I think they like either something jumps out at you or that said dead person jumps out at you, and it's like this big jump scare moment, and then that it's never there. And it's like there's all the blood just suddenly disappears, and it's like, well, was that an illusion? Was that real? Or am I like, is it real? And I'm like being delusional. It's kind of like you never know what's real and what's not, and that's why it's a really confusing sort of franchise. But obviously always at the end you sort of work out which one that is and what's been real, what hasn't, because the whole point of the first, like the original, was this dad losing his daughter basically at Silent Hill. Like, you know, she goes missing in Silent Hill and it's about him trying to find her. You know, and it's that classic horror game that builds on a story. I think that's something that Resident Evil have done very well, especially in recent years, with 7 and 8 that have come out with actually telling a story while also having that horror element. I think it's something that in a lot of horror games people forget. People just think jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. And like for games like Phasmophobia that works, but for games like this, it's about that story and about like you constantly thinking while you're playing it, like, is this real? Is this not? Like, what's going on? And that sort of plays on your head non-stop, that sort of mystery.
It sounds really, it doesn't sound like the kind of game that I would play, but it sounds like the kind of game, like I said earlier, that I would watch somebody play.
I would pay to watch you play that, AJ.
You don't have to. With Twitch Prime, you can subscribe for free.
Touché.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds interesting. I like the idea of it. I do kind of like those kind of games where it's kind of trying to work out what is real and what's not. But in terms of horror, I am very much a baby. And it's not something like, especially if there's jump scares and things, I know it's going to happen. It's like, no, not for me. But watching somebody else get jump scared where no one can see me being jump scared by that person being jump scared is the perfect opportunity for that. And it's definitely, again, something I'd probably watch someone play. I've never played any of the Silent Hill games. And when you said Silent Hill, I was thinking of what are the things called in Star Wars where they're on when they're on the hill and they've got glowing
The
eyes?
Jabberwocks.
No,
Is it not those?
The Jawas, yeah, the Jawas,
Jawas,
right?
that's it, Jawas, yeah.
Jawas. That's what I had in my mind of a hill, and then I thought, oh, it's probably not that, and then I thought, oh, it's that other one where it's like people on a hill, like watching people. So now that you've explained it, nothing that I thought it was makes sense, but I can't remember what question you asked me. Would I play it? No. Would I watch you play it? Yes. Would I watch Grimmy play it? Double yes.
Well, you can subscribe to me on Prime.
Yeah, there we go. It was also like the character that most people know Silent Hill off of is Triangle Head.
So I've heard of Triangle Head because he's in Dead by Daylight as well, I think.
He is. Yeah,
he's in Dead by Daylight. So a lot of people know Silent, like immediately put the two together. I kind of hope the main villain of it isn't Triangle Head. I would like him to maybe like I would love them to build a universe where like they tease Triangle Head in there, and then later on it's revealed that. But I don't know how they'll make it work.
I think when you're bringing it back, you have to have at least a main component of it.
Yeah,
I think Triangle Head either has to be in it for a little bit, and it's sort of like building to, but they have to at least appear. Like you can't have Silent Hill build up to be in there, and then it's like the main villain that you all know and love isn't involved. So
yeah,
maybe you could get Square Head in or something. I don't know.
I would
Square Head.
I would love Triangle Head to just kind of like appear, like do what Triangle Head does best, and that's rip somebody in half, and then literally
as a hell of a skill to be the thing you're best at.
oh, the deaths from Triangle Head.
How many boys did you up today? I hit my quota.
But like I would love it to kind of be like not the main villain, but sort of has that iconic moment of a full like blown like ripping of something where you maybe have to run away from Triangle Head, and that's all you sort of see. And it's that little tease of like Triangle Head's there, but we're going to explore Triangle Head later on, sort of thing. And because I want this to become a franchise thing, but I'm worried it won't. But before I babble on too long, we'll go to a few honorable mentions.
Sorry, just thinking of like how strong do you have to be to physically rip somebody in half?
Ridiculous, like big boy muscles. Like
I'm gonna have to YouTube.
It's like 2 kilogram weights to the gym. Yeah, that's what we're talking
about. I'm trying to see it in my mind of someone like.
Just watch The Last of Us.
Yeah. If you want a moment, like the Silent Hill movie has a specific moment in it, if you like, where Triangle Head does rip someone apart. So research that one. If you are under the age of 18, please do not research that because it's horrible. But it's iconic. It's so iconic. But if you want an example of what Triangle Head's brutality is like, get that scene from the Silent Hill movie, which isn't the best, but I very much enjoyed it. So, but yeah, it's so brutal, and that's what Triangle Head's all about, and what Silent Hill is actually all about as well. So, moving on to honorable mentions. I know Grimmy, you've got quite a few, so rattle through a few of your honorable mentions.
I think the obvious ones are like Starfield. That's obviously the next big Bethesda game coming out. Very interested to see if it works, because usually, infamously, in Bethesda games have a lot of bugs and a lot of problems at the start, and then maybe get fixed. But then everyone goes, "Oh, it's all part of the charm of a Bethesda game." And then Fallout 76 happened, and we all went, "Nah, we don't want that anymore." So, Starfield's up there for me. A game series I've never really dabbled in is Final Fantasy, but for some reason, when I watched the trailers for Final Fantasy 16, I was like, this might be the one where I give it a go. So I think with that being out, I think it's out in June and out around my birthday. So I'm going to be like, that's probably what I'll be doing on my birthday, as well as watching the Flash movie when that comes out. And Jedi Survivor is probably the other one. The new Star Wars game. that was coming out at the end of this. I think it should be out already, but it's coming out in April instead. So yeah, really looking forward to that because the first one of that one was just fantastic. So yeah, those are my sort of 3 quick honorable mentions.
You got any honorable mentions yourself, AJ?
I've only got one, and it is Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the Wild was so freaking good. I queued up outside Smith's Toy Superstore at midnight to get my Switch on release day.
Of course you did.
And I remember going to work with my Switch in my bag and just sitting on my break, and I actually went over my break by like an hour because I was just sat in the like break room playing Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I would never do that because I would want to be at home and I wouldn't want to get interrupted. I couldn't do that, me personally.
People don't talk. When I worked, I work for myself now, but when I worked jobs, people didn't talk to me. I made sure people didn't talk to me. Like, I'm not a very sociable person. Do you know? I'm not. Sorry, I'm going off topic. But when you're got headphones in and people still try and talk to you, like I've got headphones.
Oh, that irritates the living hell out of me.
Like my neighbor does it all the time. I walk out, I've clearly got headphones on, and they're like, and I just like, I can't hear. See you later. I don't care. Anyway, what was the question? Breath of the Wild was fantastic. Zelda, any Legend of Zelda games are great. I think Legend of Zelda was maybe one of my top games for a long time on like the Nintendo 64. So it's going to be spectacular. It very, very nearly made my list, but I thought it was going to be a bit of an obvious one. But it's going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, Legends of Zelda is one of the most beloved franchises, so that you always feel like they have to nail that one. I mean, my honorable mentions, the one that nearly made it, actually, it was between Silent Hill and it was between the Wolf Among Us 2. For the prime reason, Telltale's back, people, and the heartbreak I felt when I found out all of the Telltale stuff and how Telltale were going to go and that was going to be it, and it was going to end with the final Walking Dead series, which I still haven't played yet because I haven't found the time to play it, and I've refused to watch anything on it, so I don't know what happens. Because what I want to do is I bought the definitive edition, so I want to play 1 again, I want to play 2 again, I want to play 3 into 4, play them all in order and really get the full shebang. And yeah, I mean, Telltale coming back. I never played the Wolf Among Us 1, which is why it never made it into my list. I know it's on my list to play. I just don't have time at the moment. Honestly, when I come back to streaming, the amount of things I will be playing is ridiculous. Like the range will be insane because I've got so many things on my list that I've just not had the time to ever play. But the Wolf Among Us 2, I think again it would be similar to what I'm doing with the Walking Dead one of like the final season of that. I'll probably play the Wolf Among Us 1 straight into number 2 and do it as like a package deal. But Telltale being back is just so that's an honorable mention. The other one is the new Ghostbusters game. Quite frankly, it's a Ghostbusters game. And me and AJ had a joke beforehand. No matter how bad Ghostbusters games are, we still buy it because it's a Ghostbusters game. And for whatever reason, no matter how bad it is, you always get tempted and then you end up doing it and then you end up going, that was a bit crap. And then you move on until the next one comes out. It's like a vicious cycle. And then the other one is the new Gollum game, Lord of the Rings Gollum, which is supposed to come out this year, but again, I think it's going to get pushed back to 2024. I don't know why. I've just got this feeling it's going to go to early 2024 rather than like later this year. But the new Gollum game, I'm intrigued by more than anything, because I think and it's one of my most anticipated games. For the matter of fact, I really don't know how it's going to go. Not for the fact of like I am like absolutely buzzing to play it next level, like the other ones that I've mentioned and blabbered on about before. It's more similar to Grimmy's reaction. There's a lot of people who are really concerned about this game and really like, because when it first got announced, it looked great. and it's looking worse and worse with each one. And I'm kind of hoping that it's just because they don't want to maybe give away the story too much, that they're trying to show all the boring gameplay bits and just get you excited by the fact that it's Gollum rather than the story. But yeah, I mean, it's anticipated because I haven't got a clue how that's going to go down.
But yeah, I have concerns about that game, but we'll see. We'll see how it lands.
We will see. We'll see. And we'll see what all of the other games are that we have mentioned during this podcast. If you have enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like button. Do comment your most anticipated games in the comment section down below. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Or is there any that we've missed off? Because there probably is, because there's loads of games coming out this year that we ourselves have probably missed out on and forgotten are coming out this year. And if you're new here, do subscribe. Do show us some love. And go and check out our previous episode on The Last of Us HBO TV show. That was great to finally get to talk about that publicly. So check that out if you haven't done so already. And we shall see all of you in the next podcast. See ya.
Go drive cars outside and don't play Forza. Bye, guys.